Well, that's Sandy Patty getting us into our morning teaching here on KLYN. Thank you for coming along with us this morning. Thank you for being part of our program. And we are live at 2207 7th Street, 90.3 FM. YouTube is working. We're waiting to see if we got any Facebook listeners so that they can verify that. Dana Burns was first on the channel this morning, the YouTube channel. Jennifer, you were right behind her, but Jennifer, I'm sorry. Dana beat you to the number one spot of being on this morning, so he gets the prize. And then Watcher Jeff comes in third place. He gets a third place Wookie button today. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing? We are in the middle of the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers. Pretty much looking at the end, but not really, of the ministry of Balaam in Moab 3,500 years ago. Okay? Because I think if we get into the next chapter, which we might even get into the next chapter today. Who knows whether we will or not. But if we do, you're going to find out a little bit more about this Balaam guy and what's he doing and who is he. Well, for me, he's the false prophet for profit is what he is. And I was thinking of this yesterday as we were closing off the program, and I was kind of reading some of the verses that we're going to be in today. Kind of reminds me of Judas a little bit. You know, Judas followed Jesus, man. Jesus was right there in the middle. He had just as much grace available to him as the other 11 did, and others who were following Jesus. Good morning, Robin. He had it all. I mean, he was right there. Imagine, but he sold them out for 30 pieces of silver. And I don't know if we want to go as far as calling Balaam, under the spirit of Judas, excuse me. All the Judites are going to be mad at me now, okay? Well, everybody's mad at me most of the time anyway. God bless you all. Welcome to my world, poor Pastor Mark. Anyway, Judas, for 30 pieces of silver, and then later he's throwing the silver and says, man, I'm sorry, I shouldn't, goes out and hangs himself and everything like that. Well, Balaam, he liked the silver too, and I don't know how many pieces of silver Balak was offering him, but I can see in the bag that was taken away from him some silver, some gold, maybe even some diamonds. I don't know. I don't even know if they use diamonds or not. I have no idea. All I'm telling you is that Balaam was, and I think he's a false prophet. Jesus warned us about false prophets. He warned us about false teachers. He warned us about false Christs. So welcome to your spiritual experience today. But let me tell you what, in the midst of, I have a daily download through my email from Kim Commando, who talks about a lot of things on the tech side. And I read her output every day. Most of the days I read it. A lot of it is fear, man. A lot of it is, scamming here and watch out with that there, and they can get you here and they can get you there, and that's the way your spiritual life could be. Your spiritual life is, I don't know, man. He's talking about false prophets, false teachers, false Christ, all this. But let me tell you what, greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. And Satan, he can put the best that he has out there, and you have to realize that the grace, which I believe that Judas forego the grace that God was offering into his life, that we have this grace that is available to us, that we can stay the course and we can use the gifts and the fruit that God has given us to maintain. And one of the great gifts is discernment. We have the ability to discern through the Spirit of the living God. So we've been looking at Balaam. Good morning, Yolanda. I've been calling him a false prophet, the prophet for profit. We saw in yesterday's program, we came across the first verse where it says that he put down his omens and his, Shundai thing, his evil, let's go there. What was it on the New King James? I don't think it said omens. It's his sorcery. What? Yeah, he puts down his sorcery. He says, well, that's not working. Let's try something else. Let's see what else we have in the bag of tricks. So he took up this oracle. Let's go to our screen this morning. Girls, I got you before you got me. And it worked the first time. That's the screen we want you to see. So the header over this portion of the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers is Balaam's final oracle. I believe this would be considered his fourth oracle. And he has, or is it his fifth? Anyway, he keeps interest. I mean, the guy shouldn't have gone to begin with. I mean, please, if you haven't been following along with us, but even if you have been, you should be reading chapters 22, 23, 24, and find out he should have gone in the first place. And then the donkey warns him. And then God has to warn him. And then finally, at the beginning of this chapter, he's okay. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. And, he says, even if you go and tell Balak, even if he gives me all of his silver and gold, he says, I can't come against Yahweh. I guess Baal and Ashtoreth and all the other satanic principalities and powers weren't able to satisfy Balaam. So he finally said, you know what, at peril of my life, that donkey might just throw me into the river. I don't know what it is. Anyway, good morning, Yolanda. So he takes up his oracle. Now all of a sudden he's a holy man. Now all of a sudden he can put his collar on. Now all of a sudden he can take off the gold chain with the crystal on it. He could put a cross around his neck, like if that's going to keep him from, I don't know why he would have it. But I'm just saying. They didn't have, the cross. I don't believe was anything for these people understood. They didn't have, but I'm just jumping back and forth 3,500 years. So he took up his oracle and said, the utterance of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the utterance of a man whose eyes are opened. Well, I guess, there could be something positive over here, There may be, his eyes are open now. Well, I think the opportunity to have opened eyes were a few trips ago, a few miles back. That and notice this part, which we all know, if you're familiar with the story. The donkey's eyes were opened before Balaam, the prophet. He's the prophet, and the donkey's eyes were opened before Balaam. Now, did God close Balaam's eyes? Or was Balaam looking and distracted by the things of this world? The utterance of him who hears the words of God, a true story, he had heard that he knew Yahweh. He spoke in the name of Yahweh at times when he wasn't using his sorcery. And, you talk about sorcery, you have to understand. Well, okay, we got enough time this morning. We're just getting started. Let's look at the word sorcery here real quick. Webster says, good morning, Maria. My God. magic, enchantment, witchcraft, divination to be the assistance of evil spirits and the power of commanding evil spirits. This is not a biblical dictionary that this definition comes from, but it does come from a Christian man in about the early 1800s named Daniel Webster. And he says sorcery is magic, enchantment, witchcraft, divination to be the assistance of evil spirits, the power of commanding evil spirits. So we'd have to go to the Hebrew and see exactly what the Hebrew says about it. But notice that it's magic and enchantment. And a lot of you people that are on our feed this morning, and all of you KLYNers that aren't on our video feed, do you realize that you live in the land of enchantment? That's another, what would you call it, definition for a different day. But real quick, let's go before we get into weather and other stuff. Let's see what the King James Bible says. He did not seek for enchantments. OMG, you are kidding me. The word sorcery that we saw in the New King James, in the previous King James, there have been a lot of King James revisions. If you had the initial King James translation, English speakers, you would understand it. It'd be like a foreign language. So there's been many revisions of the King James Bible over the years, over the century or two. Anyway, in the King James Bible that we have in front of us, they use the word enchantments. And I have mosquitoes. We're kind of happy now that the mosquitoes are here because that means that we got water. Okay? Incantation, enchantment is what H5173 is. Welcome to the land of enchantment. When my wife had that revelation many years ago in Espanola on the way to a prayer meeting, I remember us being on McCurdy Road. Some of you people know where I'm talking about. We're headed down McCurdy Road to El Buen Pastor, and we're headed to a prayer meeting, and we're talking about some of the situations and some of the decline that we're seeing. We're seeing some of the, this was years ago, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably 40 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And we're talking about the distractions that are out there. My wife says, you know what? You know what? Don't we live in the land of enchantment? That's our battle. That's part of the battle that we have to fight against. Anyway, good morning, Jody. The land of enchantment equals Disneyland. Okay. Does it? Is that what they call Disneyland, the land of enchantment? Well, I know that the motto over the state of New Mexico is the land of enchantment. You know, in Alabama, I'm sure it's something different, and everyone has their different, but the state motto over New Mexico is the land of enchantment. I wonder who's the one who would. And Balaam raised his eyes and saw Israel encamped according to their no. That's the beginning of verse 24. We've been there already. Okay, sorry. So he took up his oracle and said, the utterance of Balaam the son of Beor, and the utterance of a man whose eyes are open, the utterance of him who hears the words of God, has the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes wide open. Okay, he's going to keep his eyes open. Even if he falls down, he's going to keep his eyes open. I can see clearly now. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. Verse 17, chapter 24, Balaam is prophesying. The Spirit of God has come upon him. We saw that at the beginning of the chapter. Okay? And we have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, we have to realize that the Spirit of God is filling this guy's mouth, and has been. I mean, you know, he knows he's He's under the watchful eye of the Spirit of the living God and has been told, you just speak what I speak and don't add and don't take away, like the book of Revelation says, from the prophecy of this book. That's the end of the Bible. If you one of the last verses of the Bible is don't you take away or you add to the word, there is a curse upon you. Okay, Balaam, you got your own issues to go along with. Maybe we better play a song. Maybe we better temper it out with a weather report coming up in 4 minutes. It's Lifescape singing Crown Him with Many Crowns.
Crown him with many crowns, the Lamb upon his throne. Hark how the heavenly anthem drowns all music but its own. Awake my soul and sing of him who died for thee, and hail him as thy matchless King through all eternity. Crown him the Lord of love. Behold his hands and side, rich wounds yet visible above, in beauty glorified. No angel in the sky can fully bear that sight, but downward bends his wandering eye at mystery so bright. Crown him the Lord of life, who triumphed o'er the grave, who rose victorious to the strife for those he came to save. His glories now we sing, who died and rose on high, who died eternal life
Lifescape Singing crowned him with many crowns at 30 minutes after the hour. 62 degrees is our current temperature. Looking for mostly sunny skies this morning with a high near 92 degrees, south wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. 40% chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. And we've been getting, some little bit of showers, we've been, enough to where there's mosquitoes flying around, They know that I'm on the air, and they know that I can't chase them down too much. Thursday, scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon with mostly sunny skies, high near 94 degrees, east wind 5 to 15 miles per hour. And on Friday, we have a 70% chance of showers likely between noon and 3 o'clock with a high near 89 degrees, north wind around 10 miles per hour. And I really didn't want to do it, but I had to burn my let me see, what were we calling it? Let's start. My diary. The dude should have burned his diary. You should have stashed it better than that, dude. Anyway, good morning, good morning. We are in the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers. What's a little joke in between a couple of friends? Email contact klyn903@gmail.com. Also, we have a phone number, 505-454-9527. Our website is lvcornerstone.com. We are on top of the the view on the vid this morning. Your diary, watch out. Somebody's going to get your diary. Somebody's going to read it. Someone's going, well, is that true? The utterance of him who hears the words of God has the knowledge of the Most High. Yeah, I guess, okay. He's patting himself on the back right about now, okay? I hear the words of God. Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's not the only word you're hearing, son, okay? I walked with him for 3 years, and then I gave him up for 30 pieces of silver. Good morning, Mr. V. Hill. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, Joe Gentry. The utterance of him who hears the word of God has the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes. Oh, now you see the vision of the Almighty. I see him. Verse 17 now. I see him. Who? He says, I see the visions of the Almighty. Okay? I see him. That's who he's talking about. Verse 16 and 17. I see him, but not now. So it's kind of, maybe it's a little cloudy. Maybe there's still a little, maybe it's not perfectly clear. But I see him, I see him down the road. I behold him. Because you know what? 1,500 years later, God was going to send his only begotten Son to die a gruesome death and to shed innocent blood for the redemption of whomsoever will believe in him, so that they would not perish. And Balaam is looking down the road prophetically. His eyes are open now. He says, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob. Who is Jacob? Jacob is Israel. Jacob is the, I am on the right screen. Jacob is the encampment that is down below. The tabernacle, the priesthood, the Levites, all the tribes, 12 tribes in their perfect location, just the way God. And he looks down below. He says, I see a star coming out of Jacob. Jacob is camped. Israel, same, is camped down below. He says, a star shall come out of Jacob. A scepter shall rise out of Israel. A scepter was that rod in the hand of a king that was proof of his dominion. And you can follow this whole scepter thing. I mean, it's not just one place in the Bible when you start talking about Jesus the Christ, the only begotten Son, who conquered death and sin on the cross. Oh, well, good. I'm glad he did that. No, you do believe it in your heart. You need to confess it in your mouth. And you need to begin you need to begin to see the kingdom. Only a person who is born again that can see the kingdom. You have to be born of water and the Spirit to enter into the kingdom. And you have to realize that you have keys that have been given to you by the king so that you can come into his kingdom. Because he told Peter, as we talked about Sunday, I gave you the keys to the kingdom. And then Peter, he said, okay, I'm going to share that with all my friends, all my brothers and my sisters. He says, I see him, but not now. I see him. There's something that's coming. There's a star that's coming out of Jacob. There's a scepter that's going to rise out of Israel and batter the brow of Moab. Can you see? See, here we are in Moab. Here we are called by the king. Balak is the king of Moab, the king of the Moabites. And Balaam finally sees, and well, since I'm here, God might as well use me to prophesy the truth, because I've been trying to prophesy a lie and he won't let me. But okay, God, thy will be done. He said, oh, I see him, but now I behold him, but not near. He's coming, but he's not close, but he's coming. A scepter shall rise out of Israel and batter. With the scepter he will batter the brow of Moab and destroy all the sons of tumult. So every rebellious Moabite will be destroyed. Now, what we're looking at today, we're looking at nations that currently occupy the area around at least three sides, because the western side is occupied by the Mediterranean Sea, but north, south, and east of the Promised Land. Moab is one of them. Do your homework and find out where Moab is today and who they are today and what religion they're part of. Well, okay, let's read it and then we'll get into some other stuff here that might be interesting to some of you. Okay, a star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel and batter the brow of Moab, knock them right on the forehead, and destroy all the sons of tumult. Now, I'm going to tell you, not all the sons of Moab are part of the sons of tumult, okay? The commotion, the disturbance, the agitation of a multitude. They're coming against him whom I see far down the road. They're coming against the star. They're coming against the scepter. The scepter's going to knock them on the head. And all the sons of rebellion that are in Moab. You say, well, there's no Moab today. Well, we change names, but it's still the same. Yeah. How about the Edomites? Who are these people? And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also, his enemy, shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. And what he's saying is, I see the Messiah coming. I'm going to blow it for you. He's going to come out of Jacob. He's going to have the scepter to rise out of Israel. He's going to separate the sheep from the goats in Moab. And then he's going to go to Edom. Edom shall be a possession. Not a possession of Moab, the possession of the stars, the one who holds the scepter, the one that he can see. I'm way down over there, I see him. He's not here now, but he's a-coming. And the Spirit of God is speaking, finally, speaking clearly through Balaam. This is where a lot of people get real confused. Well, why would God use, what is it? Edom shall be a possession. Seir also, his enemies, shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. Oh, Israel's going to be a strong nation. We're looking at Messiah. Messiah comes out of Israel. Messiah comes out of the tribe of Judah, which was one of those tribes that's down below that Balaam is looking at. And he says, Moab, your day's coming. Edom, they're going to take you over. Seir also is going to be taken over. His enemies shall be a possession while Israel does valiantly. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion and destroy the remains of the city. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion. Is it talking about the armies of Israel? Is it talking about the time of Joshua? Is it talking about the times of David? What's it talking about? What is it? No, it's talking about the Christ. It's talking about a spiritual overcoming of enemies and a separation of the sheep from the goats. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we look at the nations around Israel today, where the Moabites and the Ammonites and all these people resided, and we say, well, there's nations there now. They're all Muslim. They must all be bad. No, they're not all bad. So God is going to bring them in, but He's going to show. The center of the earth is not in someplace in Kansas. The center of the earth is on the shores of the Mediterranean in a city called Jerusalem, if you're looking at it from God's perspective. We think everything, rises and falls on the United States of America. Sorry. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion and destroy the remains of the city. Then he looked on Amalek. And he took up his oracle. Notice he's looking at Moab. He's looking at Edom. He's looking at all these different places, and cities and areas around who presently are surrounding the promised land called Israel, and a people that are there, and many are threatening him. We'll be there in just a little while. Because Iran was not in Edom, is not in where former Moab was, or Edom was, or where the Amalekites. He's not there, but Balaam's going to talk about that. Out of Jacob one, Jesus the Christ shall have dominion and destroy the remains of the city. Then he looked on Amalek. Amalek, man, I tell you what, if you looked through the Bible, through the Old Testament about Amalek, you'd say, man, those guys. Wasn't it Saul who was called to kill the king of Amalek, and he wouldn't do it? He thought he was, bringing a prize home, and he was bringing a curse along with him when he didn't obey the Lord. Well, I did what the Lord told me to do. No, you didn't, Samuel tells him. You didn't, man. Yeah, well, we preserved the best of the Amalekites. And Samuel had to take business in his own hands, if you understand what I mean. Another story for another day. He looked on Amalek. Amalek is an interesting historical lesson. Who is Amalek? Who is he related to? What is the history of Amalek? And what did the Amalekites? I think it was David finally who had to go after the Amalekites, because he looked upon. Then he looked on Amalek. Now Balaam's looking on Amalek, and he took up his oracle and said, Amalek was the first among the nations, but shall be last until he perishes. So there's going to be a separation in Moab. Edom and Seir, are going to, they're going to have judgment that's going to come upon them. Amalek was the first among nations, but shall be last until he perishes. So Amalek wasn't going to last forever. Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took up his oracle. Once again, this is Balaam under the anointing, I guess, I hate to say anointing, but the Spirit of God has fallen upon him, and he's speaking the word of God, and he's speaking prophecy to these nations, and he has the attention of all of these nations. They know who he is. They know the gift has been given to him. And he's speaking to all of them all around there. And basically, most of these are around the southern and eastern part of present day Israel. Do your homework and read the headlines. Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took up his oracle and said, "Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set on the rock. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned." Okay, the Kenites, that's your homework. You find out what's present Edom, present day Edom, what's present day Moab. How about the Amalekites? What's the history of Amalekites? How about the Kenites? Who are the Kenites? Huh? He says, "Firm is your dwelling." Let's see what Easton's tells us about the Kenites, the Smiths. Ooh. The name of a tribe inhabiting the desert lying between southern Palestine and the mountains of Sinai. So they passed through the area of the Kenites, if I understand that completely. Okay, so I guess they were some type of blacksmiths. A Midianite race, according to Fawcett's Bible Dictionary. For Jethro, the Kenite is called the priest prince of Midian. Oh, so you're telling me that Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, was a Kenite. Then he looked, and Balaam is looking at all these nations, these tribal people. He looked on the Kenite, and he's telling them, this is what's going to happen to you, Kenites. This is going to have Amalekites. This is going to have Moabites, Edomites. This is where you're headed one of these days, and it won't be long. He's telling Amalek, we'll look for you, and baby, you'll be gone. Okay, I switched a few words around on that one. Then he looked on the Kenites, and he took up his oracle and said, "Firm is your dwelling place, and your nest is set on the rock. Nevertheless, Cain, not with a C, but with a K, shall be burned. How long till Ashur carries you away captive?" Kind of have an understanding of Edom and what part of the world it's in. What else did we talk about? We talked about the Edomites. We talked about the Kenites. We talked about the Amalekites. We talked about the Moabites. Okay? And he tells the Kenites, "Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. How long until Ashur carries you away captive?" Asher. Who is Asher? Huh? Anybody know who Asher is? We got a little bit of time that we could talk about Asher. But let's refer to our Bible dictionaries. Let's go to Smith's this time. Okay? Asher is the second son of Shem. Okay? Shem was the son of Noah. From Noah came his sons. From their sons came the nations. Of a restoration, a time of restoration of the peoples of the land, because everybody had perished in the flood except Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives. 8 people in the ark, 3 sons, 3 daughter-in-laws, a wife, and a Noah. So the second son of Shem was Ashur. And Mr. Smith adds the last phrase, also the Hebrew form for Assyria. So we say Assyria in our Bibles, in our language, we say Assyria, but the Hebrew form for Assyria is Ashur. Where is, let me see if anybody has any comments. No comments yet about Ashur, because Ashur is up in the area of the Assyrians. Now we're not on the eastern or the southern part of Israel. Now we're up forth. You know where you have Lebanon above the Promised Land? What we call the Promised Land today. There's a nation called Lebanon. Above that is called a nation Syria. And then there was one time there was a empire called the Assyrian or the Ashurian, if you were. So now we're talking about a whole different people. We're talking about, and I think it would be interesting for us to look at an old map and find out where Assyria, what area they conquered, what area they was it was a big empire, and Iraq and Iran were part of the Assyrian Empire. Morning, Mr. Gentry. You say, whoa, so you're telling me that, well, the Bible's telling you. Let me tell you. How long until Ashur carries you away captive? So there was going to be captivities. The Assyrians were going to come, and they were going to take people away. They were going to conquer, like the Kenites and even the Israelites. The northern kingdom was going to be taken by the Assyrians, by the Ashurians. Are you with me this morning? Do you understand that a little bit? So we're not talking, do I have a map? Let's see if I have a map that we can kind of, I don't think this one's going to help me out at all when we get down to that stuff, because we're talking about way up over there. Let's see if we can find something. Divisions of Canaan. Ooh, how about we find this one and see what the Bible dictionary will tell us about the Assyrians or the Ashurian and Babylonian kingdoms. Okay? See that part that it's covering over there? Okay? If you look at the map and you understand that in the green was the Assyrian kingdom, and you look at where the green is over these mountains, and you say, well, that kind of looks like that could be Iraq and beyond Iraq and Iran and beyond Iran, the Assyrians. Okay, there was the green, and then there was the yellow, to where they took more. A couple of 100 years later, they took more area that go along with it. Okay, around where the Euphrates is, where the Tigris is. Oh, I got that mosquito, man. He's going to drink my blood. Sorry for the distraction. So that'll give you a little bit idea when we're talking about this important. And I wanted to, you can look up the Moabites, Ammonites, Girgashites, but you have to know. In the news today, ladies and gentlemen, the Ashurians are all over the place. They don't call them by that name anymore. They've broken, they've settled. The empire's gone up, the empire's gone down. But when the empire was the empire, and what Balaam is saying is, I saw these things from afar away. It's coming, and somebody's going to take them. Somebody that is the star of Judah, somebody that has the scepter in his hand. Wakale, he going to hit you with him. Okay, sorry. Then he looked on the Kenites. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. Then he took up his oracle and said, alas, who shall live when God does this? Ooh. Have you ever studied the 38th and 39th chapter of the book of Ezekiel? You see, you keep throwing that at us all the time. You just keep on kind of, we're going to be there one of these days. But that doesn't mean that you can't begin to study the 38th and 39th chapter of the book. 37th chapter talks about the dry bones coming back to life of the book of Ezekiel. 38 and 39 talks about Gog and Magogs, not people, but kingdoms that will be coming against Israel in the latter days. Lot of detail there. Who shall be live? Who shall live, when God does this? Notice he's been talking about them. He's been throwing some names out over there. You say, well, man, that's good for then. Well, one of these days that's going to happen. Well, some of them have happened already. Talk to the Amalekites. Go looking for the Amalekites today. But then look at the sons of Ashur. And we've tried to identify who the sons of Ashur is and talk about where they were, where they came from, where they are today. And it won't make a whole lot of sense because much of the Assyrian Empire is part of Gog and Magog. Now, a lot of people will tell you Gog and Magog and, all these people that are coming against it, these kingdoms that are coming against it, well, is that Russia? It's southern Russia. Southern Russia, these are Muslim nations. Let's just cut through the chase. These are these are Muslim nations that surround Israel, and from the northern part, Gog and Magog, that are going to come down. They're Muslim nations. You say, well, some people say it's Russia. Southern Russia, all of the old USSR states. Okay, they're not states, I know, but they're old, and the I don't know. I can't name the name of Aberstakenstans, and all the stands are Muslim nations. Southern Russia. Nevertheless, Cain shall be burned. How long until Asher carries you away captive? One of these days, just know that when Cain is going to be burned, that the Assyrians are going to be coming for you, Kenites, and take you along with Israel, along with the northern kingdom. But ships shall come from the coast of Cyprus. Okay, where is Cyprus? You go back to the Mediterranean and a map of the Mediterranean, we might see. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if it's on this map that I brought up or not. There's Cyprus right there, okay? Right off the coast of the northeastern Mediterranean is a big island called Cyprus. A place. Ooh, I got to play a song. I'm sorry. We'll talk about Cyprus in a little while. Let's see. Selah taking us to the top of the hour.
I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back, no turning back. Hatange buya, ono ta kwenda. Hatange buya, ono ta kwenda. Hatange buya. Oh, no, ta cuenta.
Good morning, Las Vegas. You're listening to KLYN 90.3 FM, a ministry of Cornerstone Church. At 7 o'clock in the morning on this Wednesday, the 29th day of July, 63 degrees is our current temperature. Humidity still up there a little bit. We had cloud cover all night long. After that sprinkle we got yesterday, 78% is the humidity. Winds are fairly calm right now. And we are finishing off the 24th chapter of the book of Numbers. Okay? And throwing some stuff out there for your own study. Who's Cain? Who are the Kenites? Who are the Edomites and the Moabites and the Amalekites and all the Ite brothers that are being mentioned in this chapter? Who are they? And who are the Assyrians? Who are the sons of Ashur? We've tried to cover that this morning and give you maybe a little bit of insight into things. Let me tell you, and I've said this occasionally when we get into the 38th and 39th chapter and talk about Gog and Magog, these kingdoms that will come against Israel, is that in the early 80s, the Lord had me reading 38th and 39th chapter of Ezekiel. I mean, like hundreds of times for months on end. I would go back and start reading it and still can't say that I understand it in its fullness. But I know it is something that has not happened but will happen and potentially could happen in our world today, but not being the time setter because I have not seen the time clock in heaven. I'm not going to go over there and I'm going to say, well, that's coming within the next X amount of time. Gog and Magog, but there'll be a time. And the Moabites, the ones of tumult at least, and the Edomites. I don't think the Amalekites are going to be there, but the Assyrians will definitely be there. Look at the map one more time. Let's look at the map. See the Black Sea there? See this gold yellowish color and this green that's right below it. How can you see that? I'm doing it, ladies. Catch me a break. Where's Tubal and Armenia and Urartu? Where are all these places today? There's the Black Sea. There's the Caspian Sea. This area here. So where you see like Phrygia and Tubal and places like that, that's right around the area where Turkey is today, a Muslim country. Syria, a Muslim country. Okay, the southern area of Russia are all Muslims. They're different from the Russians in Moscow and up in, I think it's Siberia and places like that. See, they covered, and they anyway. Check it out. Okay. Then he took up his oracle and said, "Alas, who shall live when God does this?" Now let's look at it independent from, if you want to, cut Ezekiel 38 and 39 and Gog Magog off to the side if you don't think that it fits. But something's going to happen. And Balaam says, I see it. It's coming down the road. I see it. It's kind of far away. But he will rise, the star that comes out of Judah. Didn't he say Judah? And the scepter. I want to look at it, make sure that I'm at least close. A star shall come out of Jacob, not Judah, which is Israel, and scepter shall rise out of Israel. Judah is only part of Jacob / Israel. Two names. Just like I'm sure Andrea has a middle name. And she probably won't be telling us what it is. She might, but Jacob / Israel. God has a way of changing names. Simon, I'm going to start calling you the Stony. I'm going to start calling you Stony. Peter, you're stony. And upon this huge stone, because you're just a little rock, but on the big rock of the confession, he says. Then he took up his oracle and said, Alas, who shall live when God does this? Maybe you and I. Maybe. Maybe it's happened already, if we're not talking about Ezekiel 38 and 39. But if he's seen something that could have even included the kingdoms of Gog and Magog, then potentially we could be alive when this happens. But that's a beautiful thing about prophecy, who finally Balaam is, really seeing things the way God wants him to see it. Good thing there was no coffee in that cup. But ships shall come from the coasts of Cyprus, and they shall afflict Ashur and afflict Eber, and so shall Amalek until he perishes. So Amalek, Amalek's problematic, okay? A lot of things going on with Amalek. Is it in the book of Esther where an Amalekite rises up and tries to destroy Israel and gets destroyed, him and his family himself? But ships shall come from the coasts of Cyprus, and they shall afflict Ashur, which is Assyria, and afflict Eber. Let's see what the Bible's dictionary say Eber is. Wow. His name means beyond the third post-Diluvian patriarch after Shem. Okay, regarded as the founder of the Hebrew race. Okay, one of the 7 heads of the families of the Gadites. Fawcett tells us, son of Salah, grandson of Shem. Eber, ships from Shittim, represents not the Hebrew, but the general Western descendants of Shem. So we got a little bit of difference between Easton's dictionary and Fawcett's dictionary, which is always good. Anyway, the ship shall come from the coast of Cyprus. They shall afflict Ashur and afflict Eber, and so shall Amalek until he perishes. So he tried to identify Cyprus, where he's from. It's still called Cyprus today, even though we don't have a nation called Moab or Edom or Amalek, the Amalek, land of the Amalek. What would be the name of the land? Anyway, but ships shall come from the coast of Cyprus. It's still called Cyprus today. It's still there as Cyprus, that island. And Cyprus was where Paul and, was it Barnabas? Isn't it Barnabas that went to him or was it Silas? I think it was Barnabas that went with Paul on his first missionary journey. And when they left Antioch, they went to Cyprus, and they went from the east to the western edge of Cyprus carrying the gospel. And from there, they went over to present-day Turkey and evangelized, parts of eastern Turkey before they went back on their first journey. And it's kind of like Barnabas wanted to stay in Cyprus and evangelize. And Paul says, "Oh no, there's not enough action here. We need some more." Anyway, that's it for today. Mañana. What do we find out in the last verse? So Balaam rose and departed and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. Tomorrow, chapter 25. Does it even talk about Balaam in tomorrow's chapter? We'll find out if you're with me.
Yo siento paz y gozo en mi corazón, porque Jesucristo ya me